So now, people, now, basically what it says pressures or events, keep in mind that what these are referred to as long term. All right? These are as referred to as long-term causes.
Like nationalism, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So that these four things. Okay, Mr. Johnson, now. Okay, these things are what's going to be the long-term causes of it, right? So that you've got nationalism, sectionalism, where people felt their country was best, and other nationalists wanted to take in their independence. All right. Imperialism, the countries did not have territory, wanted some. Now, as Ethan asked earlier, right, the secret treaties, this is where countries had support treaties with each other. This is what caused the war to snowball. All right? And the reason it's called a snowball effect is what happens when you roll a snowball across. It gets bigger, okay? It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so what happened is what started out as something between Serbia and Austria-Hungary got bigger and bigger until it involved the whole world. Yes, these were the secret treaties and alliances. This is what caused it to snowball.
Yes,
I don't want to be.
Yes, sir? Okay, yeah, that one. You have electrical maps, I don't know. Yeah. That, or is there a way for you to get in and her as a user? Okay. All right, so everybody got this? All right, now, so then also you have the build-up military forces. You had Germany that had the largest and best equipped army. You had England that had the biggest navy. All right, so an arms race begins. All right, and so those are the four long-term causes. Now, the next one, or the short term. All right, the short term is the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand of Hungary by a rebel Serb, by a Serbian rebel. Okay, what? Rebel soldier, yeah. Sounded good. All right, you're going to need to know who the allies are. You're going to need to know who the Central Powers are.
Where's the Ottoman Empire now?
That's Turkey. The Ottoman Empire at one time would have been all of the Middle East and what's now Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Israel / Palestine, Turkey, Egypt. I mean, it was huge at one time. It was known as the sick man of Europe because they started losing territory. And this was one of the things, too, that a lot of the Allies wanted because now oil is becoming valuable while they discover oil in the Middle East. All right. Now, with the U.S., the Americans felt sympathy for the Allies because of common language and literature, where the German and Irish Americans sided with the Central Powers. Everybody got it? All right, but the thing agrees is most Americans agree, basically follow a policy of neutrality. Okay, now Wilson, he felt the U.S. had no enemies, that the U.S. should spread democratic ideas, and thought he knew what was best for the rest of the world. All right. The Great War became known as the bloodiest war in history. And also with this too, we've been kind of going through it. Remember, you have the Great War, the war to end all wars, and what was the third name?
World War I.
World War One.
Great War.
Yeah, it's known as the Great War, the war to end all wars, and World War One. All right. Yep. So we've been going through them throughout the whole thing. All right. Then it was a two-front war: Western Front in France, Eastern Front. Okay. Trench warfare between two opposing sides. All right.
What's going on?
Want some cats?
Making a video.
Making a video.
Yep. Everybody have this?
Did you guys want cats? Mr. Gordon.
You saw the cat in my back porch, but we had an extra one.
You got
We
the-
want
you have
one.
another
Yeah,
one?
I got 3 animals.
I don't want any cats. Shit.
Right.
I don't want cats.
You're good.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Right.
I don't want
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna trade. Right.
We don't have any problem.
All right. Now. The land between the trenches were called no man's land. Okay. Should know at least 4 new weapons that were used. The Western Front ended up in a stalemate, with each side not gaining much ground. Because of a weak surface navy, Germany used U-boats to sink ships without warning or taking on survivors. And they did warn neutrals to stay off the ships, i.e. the Lusitania would have been an example.
Germany did or didn't?
Germany did one. Remember I said they'd taken out a full page ad in the New York paper, telling people to stay off the Lusitania.
But I did.
They did. And they still, still at least 120 Americans did get on Lusitania and lost their lives. Right? Everybody got it? All right. The Germans sank Lusitania, hanging the Americans. The Sussex Pledge: no more sinking of passenger ships without warning. Germany would return to submarine warfare, hoping that England would surrender. All right. The Zimmerman Note: Germany offered the southwest area of Mexico if the U.S. Mexico declared war. Americans called for war. Okay. We also made loans. The Tsar of Russia was overthrown by the communists, and they sued for a separate peace. So the 3 things was, the sinking of ships, the Zimmerman Note, and the Tsar of Russia being overthrown. What's going to help us pull us into war? Everybody got it? You're hearing Osceola.
Right.
Huh?
You can call in order.
I know. Hey, then what's the point of highlight?
You got it? Okay. All right, now, Wilson said the world must be made safe for democracy. On the home front, the War Industry Board set up to increase production and price control. Food Administration went to wheatless and meatless days. Okay, it was voluntary. Victory Gardens, food was not rationed. Okay, we used the draft. Blackjack Pershing was put in charge of the American forces. You had the American Expeditionary Force, the AEF. No, we think that's everything. Chill.
Oh, that'd be some more.
We didn't highlight, made, encouraged, to raise money. Okay. The U.S. declares war. All right, we got it, right? All right, so now, use propaganda, anti-German feelings erupted, German Americans changed the names, German products were renamed. Espionage Act arrests people for spying, Sedition Act could not write or speak against the U.S. Okay? Keep those in mind, okay? I've seen people get the Espionage Act and Sedition Act. Espionage, another word for espionage is what? Spy. Okay? Another word for espionage is spy. All right. Went to a convoy system to defeat the U-boats. Okay. Version 5, keep the U.S. Army separate. Germany signs an armistice or truce. Chapter wise, yeah. Because you got 15, 16, it might be 17 or 18. Because there's one of those chapters, and it may be the Great Depression has two chapters. Or the 20s. Yeah, that's one of the things I'm shooting for. Is to get everybody got it?
Do we have to use it again next year for 6
Mr. Dorfman. Yeah. Because he's doing the civics geography. All right, now, Wilson wanted a peace based on his 14 points. Basically, that was based on what caused the war. So you had countries that were broken up. League of Nations, peaceful way to settle disputes. Members were bound to protect any nation that was attacked by another. Okay? No. That's the case where I was sitting there showing you how this stuff does, okay? In the test, you're not going, yeah, this is the thing that led up to World War II. But it was a case to where I was showing you how it led up to it, okay? Because, especially now that we hit the 20th century, everything is interlocked. There's a lot of cause and effect, okay? Wilson does not take any senators. He takes college professors, angered many senators. Okay? You need to know the big four. Okay? And that 3 of them wanted German territory. Because remember I said, the Americans, especially at the end, said the Americans were tired of it and said, okay, let's get it over with. Well, Americans went into the 20s with what type of attitude?
Party on time.
Yeah, party all the time. Hence the nickname, the Roaring 20s. Okay? Come on, forget all your troubles, let's get happy. Type attitude. Some of that had to do, a lot of that had to do with feeling betrayed by the Allies in World War I. Okay? They're pretty much sick of Wilson. All right, everybody got it? All right. Note the big four worked on the treaty by themselves, excluding everyone else. The other 3 forced Wilson to put things in. The treaty of Versailles said Germany alone caused the war and had to pay reparation, destroy the German economy. They had to give up territory. Okay. The American people felt betrayed, wanted to go back to George Washington's warning about foreign entitlements, wanted to return to a period of isolationism.
So, was Germany's suppression
Germany's depression, the whole world starts heading into one. Germany's is going to get worse. And there for a while, Germany is going to be kind of a false deal after they build up. But eventually the bubble is going to start to collapse. and that Germany, Hitler's going to use that in the late 20s to start coming to power. Because they're going to, it's going to be a period of time after the war and stuff, they start adjusting and rebuilding and stuff. It's going to be kind of a false sense. But as they have the reparations start kicking in and stuff like this, their economy starts to collapse. And plus, too, what's going to happen is that the Great Depression is going to be worldwide, because pretty soon other countries are going to try to protect their own businesses, and nobody's going to be able to sell to anybody. Everybody's going to be worried about protecting their own businesses. Right?
One thing that I haven't gotten, how was Hitler able to change her economy so fast?
Well, you think about it, one, by putting to work things like this. But remember, what's the easiest way? What's the easiest way to put people to work? Because I can tell you for a fact when the Great Depression ended here in the United States. And I can tell you the exact date and pretty close to the exact time that the Great Depression ended here in the United States. When did the Great Depression here in the United States? Exact date. Exact date. December 7th, 1941, and probably about 7:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. Now, why can I be that exact? Because that was when Pearl Harbor attacked. And you got to remember now, you've got all these men that are heading into the military, so there's going to be jobs there. You also got all these factories now that are going to be gearing up to make war materials and stuff, and so you're going to have jobs there, to the point to where now women are even going to have to start entering the workforce to replace the men who are working. So everybody's going to have jobs. Does that make sense? And see, that's what Hitler does, is he goes in and he starts building up his military, building the new arms and things like this. And also like with the Autobahn, the highway system, things like this, and he's building. And so it looks like, yeah, he's doing quite a bit. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with this statement, but there had been a historian at one time said that if Adolf Hitler had not committed, had not started World War II and all the atrocities and the concentration camps and stuff like that, he would have gone down, and this is a German historian that said he would have gone down as a great leader of Germany because of rebuilding the economy. It's just that he put in the concentration camps and everything else. And to show how influential, and Garrett brought this up yesterday, to show how influential he was in the world, Time Magazine, which is a major magazine here in the United States for news and stuff, and every year they make a big deal about naming who their Man of the Year or their Woman of the Year that was really affected world politics and stuff like this. What'd you say, was it 38? In 1938, Time Magazine named Adolf Hitler their Man of the Year. And on their cover was a picture of Adolf Hitler, and at the top of it said, Man of the Year. Because they said of all the things that he was doing with the German economy. And then all of a sudden, that's one of the things, yeah, definitely time would probably want to take that back after the war. Well, and even then, people refused to believe the concentration camps were going on, because they couldn't believe man doing that to another man until they started overrunning the camps towards the end of the war. There's a lot of arguments, too, going in. Did the Allies, Churchill and Roosevelt really know about it, but they chose to ignore it. There were rumors coming out. But it was still a case of people, and I can't really be true, people actually doing it, so they actually started overrunning the camps. And that's trying to keep Germany. Okay? But yeah, anytime you go to war, it's going to increase your economy. And this, a lot of times, too, is what politicians do, is to take your mind off your troubles. I'll give you something else to concentrate on. And so there have been times where, yeah, our economy may be going bad and stuff, or other countries. So all of a sudden they say, well, this country's causing problems. Some people say this is what FDR was doing, that he was trying to get us pulled into the war because the Great Depression, all these New Deal programs were working. And so he tried to change the U.S. focus from internally to the stuff going on outside. We actually had the Japanese that shot up an American ship, I think it was 1939, 1940. And there have been people who accuse, and there's never been any evidence, but even some people here in town have accused Roosevelt of actually knowing the Japanese were going to attack Pearl Harbor, and he let it happen. Who was, you guys remember Pidge Wright? Pidge Wright, you know, he used to work for the highway and stuff. He had some, you know, 2 kids, Philip and those. Pidge Wright's father, from what the kids were telling me, was on, I think it was the USS Missouri at Pearl Harbor. And it was sunk, you know, they actually was able to raise it, and he did survive. But they said that their grandfather blamed Roosevelt to his dying day, that Roosevelt knew about it and he could have prevented it. That it was a cover-up, just to get us into the war. You know, there's never been really any evidence, but, okay? Now, the Senate was concerned with the part about the treaty that required member nations to go to war, okay? They were upset. You know, and this one we've been talking about too. Remember, the treaty failed, and that the Treaty of Versailles would lead to World War II. Here again, it's a case to where, especially, everything's interlocked. The Great Depression isn't just going to happen. It was building up too, especially after the war. You know, so everybody got this? Okay.
Like, what failed?